Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Zawi, along with Shelley Neese here at the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report. And today we want to introduce you to filmmaker Justin Kron with Hope in the Holy Land. His content is available and we will share how you can access this, but we wanted to present it to you because it is vital information, important and engaging in the battle for truth that we now face as Israel fights its current war. And there's an information war in the news media and elsewhere. And it's important that you have access to credible and correct information. Justin, thank you for being here. We're so excited that you had some time to talk to us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your passion for filmmaking and how you got into this film and then series that really examines the nuance and the particulars of what's going on in Israel that oftentimes combats the narrative we might hear on the news or even from our school teachers and university professors.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Shelley, good to be with you both. So I got pulled into filmmaking really because of my passion for Israel and for its right to exist. I've been leading tours there for many years and have fallen in love with the people of Israel. And I was noticing that there was some other films that were being targeted to the Christian community that was really rewriting Israel's story, the narrative, and presenting Israel as a foreign colonization movement that had come in and stolen Arab lands and has been oppressing the Arab Palestinians for 75 plus years, and then thinking too, with the Christian community, the story that was being told is that if you're a Christian Zionist, if you believe that Israel, has the right to exist, then you're part of the problem. You're actually helping to oppress the Palestinians. And so I'm hearing all this, and I'm seeing friends around me, especially those who were at a church that I used to attend, being influenced, frankly, indoctrinated with this false narrative. And I'm like, well, we got a problem. Mission Control, like we've got to do something here. And so around that time, I had met Todd Moorhead. Todd had produced a film called Promised Land, Israel Through the Eyes of Surfers. If you haven't seen it, fantastic film. Tells his story of a friendship with an Israeli surfboard shaper. Todd is a surfer, California, of course. And it told Israel's story in just a beautiful way. And I told Todd, I said, Todd, there are these other films out there that are painting a very different story of Israel. I think you need to consider making a film that counters those and presents a more balanced perspective on what's actually going on between Israelis and Palestinians in this decades-long conflict. And he was like, I just made a film. I'm not sure I want to make another one. It's a lot of work. I'm like, well, Todd, if you don't do it, then who's going to do it? And so through various influences, we both decided, well, let's partner in making a film. And the result turned out to be what's called Hope in the Holy Land, delving beneath the surface of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which came out in 2021. And that film has since had a lot of success. It's won several awards, received really some great endorsements. It's currently one of the best-selling films on Prime in the United States, related to the conflict. So we've been very encouraged by the response that film has gotten. But we had so much additional content that we didn't use in the film that we're like, well, maybe we should create like a 6-episode docuseries, like do 20 to 30-minute episodes that go a little bit deeper into the conflict. We'll add some additional material to help present more context when it's needed. And so we released our first episode of that series on September 1st of 2023. And we had, plans kind of about how to pace out the other episodes. Well, as we all know, October 7th happens, right? Just, a month later. And we're like, wow, this has really changed the story. And you can't do a series on the conflict without covering October 7th. So for us as filmmakers, as producers, it's like, okay, well, what do we do now? All of the content we have was just, from a few years back. So we decided, well, we're going to have to go back to Israel and conduct more interviews. And so that's what we did. And we went and talked to survivors, first responders, a former hostage. And we use these various, in fact, we also interviewed what we would consider to be experts on the history of Israel. So Daniel Gordis, who's one of the foremost historians on Israel, has written one of the best historical books on Israel. It's a must read. It's called Israel, A Concise History of a Nation Reborn. And Anat Wilf, some of your viewers might know her. She co-wrote the book, The War of Return. Mm-hmm. She's a professor, travels and teaches. She's brilliant. So we interviewed both Daniel and Anat, and used them to really kind of tell the history and background of Gaza and Hamas. And so with these various interviews, we really just kind of give the background of October 7th, the history leading up to it, and then the events of October 7th. So those are the two latest episodes. We still have 3 more planned. We could actually continue to keep doing episodes way into the future, but right now we're just committed to 3 more, and that'll cover more of what's happened in Gaza, in the region after October 7th, and it'll include interviews that we did in the West Bank and Judea Samaria of Palestinians, getting their reaction to it. That we're planning that for the next episode. That's going to be, I think, very shocking. I mean, listen, the episode on October 7th is shocking enough. To add more shock is really what the response has been, not just in the world, but among Palestinians themselves. We conducted 10 interviews with Palestinians, young and old, asking them, various questions. And the consensus was that Hamas was completely justified in doing what they did on October 7th. And so if there's a narrative out there that the Palestinians are different than Hamas, listen, there's some truth to that. I mean, not every Palestinian is Hamas. Not every Palestinian is actively engaged in attacking Israel or was involved on October 7th. We get that. But yet, the overwhelming majority of Palestinians, at least the ones that we spoke to, support Hamas, and frankly believe that Israel does not have the right to exist.
And they were willing to say that on film.
They were actually willing to say that on film. Now, many of them said, well, Hamas didn't rape and murder women and children. They're Muslims and they would never do that type of thing. That's against, Muslim law. It's against Sharia law. But they all had, agreed that Hamas had attacked Israel and that they were justified in doing so. And so that response is really the response that we've seen among, I wish I could say it was just among thousands in the world, but I think that's the response we've seen among millions in the world. I mean, look at what happened on October 7th. The evening of October 7th, you had 30 organizations at Harvard University, 30 campus organizations that put out a statement the evening of October 7th, blaming Israel for what happened. Mm-hmm. So, and then we saw protests or rallies, protests is the right word, against Israel within days of October 7th. And so when you look at October 7th, people like to look at this as a unique event. And in many respects it is. It's not like anything that's happened in Israel's history before. But let's be honest, it's really just a continuation of a war that's been happening even before the recreation of the state of Israel in 1948. Muslim Arabs have been actively trying to thwart the reestablishment of the state of Israel for over 100 years now. Yeah. And there's been one attack, one war after another trying to eliminate Israel off the map. And so this is the war that Israel's fighting. This is the story that we're trying to tell through our films, and this is what people need to understand, what Israel is dealing with, and so we're going to continue to do the best we can to tell that story.
Are you finding any difficulty, or do you find any hesitation for Arabs that you might encounter and interview that actually do feel like Hamas and the terrorists are the problem and the leadership in the PA is the problem? Are they hesitant to talk on camera or be honest? Is there any sentiment amongst the Arabs in the area, Christian or otherwise, that really identify or give some credit that Israel is trying to maintain security and quell terrorism, and that it's the terrorists themselves that are causing these horrible conditions and the necessary security measures like walls and checkpoints? Are you finding those folks, and are they not talking to you?
So there's a few of those people who are there, and I think it's important to know that there are Palestinians who do not support Hamas, who actually hold Hamas and the Palestinian Authority responsible for this ongoing conflict over the last several decades. They are very hesitant to go on camera. Of the 10 people that I mentioned who did go on camera and said that Hamas was justified in this, there was one person who told us that they did not think Hamas should have done that. We begged him to be interviewed. We said, we protect your identity. He wouldn't do it. We do have some of those type of interviews in our film, in the feature documentary. And I think it's important for people to see that there are Palestinians who sympathize with Israel's existence. I think many people don't know that within the Palestinian territories, they do not have the freedom of speech. They are living under a dictatorship. If they do speak out, frankly, they'll be killed. And so that's the type of world that the Palestinians are living in. I wish I could say that percentage of people was very, very high. It's not. I would estimate that it's probably around 10-15% of the Palestinians. But that's the voice that needs to be heard and expanded. And so my hope is that in time, the Palestinian population can be de-radicalized, which is going to require new leadership. It's going to require the dismantling of UNRWA. They need a whole new system of new textbooks. That, by the way, is covered in episode 3 or episode 2 of this series.
There's also footage that you had even of popular Palestinian television for young children, telling them that killing Jews is the ultimate life goal.
Yeah. And this is the historical context that people just don't know. They look at what's happened, and they hear the story of Palestinians being under what has been called a brutal occupation for 75 plus years, and that this is just resistance. Okay, that any normal person would do this. But frankly, this has been a society that's been indoctrinated to reject Israel's existence, to reject Jewish self-determination within their ancestral homeland for easily the last 100 years. But even more than that, the Jews have always been seen as inferior within the Islamic society, and they will not accept equality, really, with Jewish people. And then if you understand Islamic theology, you understand that this territory, because it had once been under Islamic control, that it is now deemed as sacred land, sacred territory, and can never be controlled by non-Muslims, by infidels.
Which also includes Christians, right? Not just
that includes Christians as well,
whether they're Arab or not.
Yeah. So there's a lot of misunderstanding, just a lot of ignorance when it comes to the history of the region, and understanding really what these Islamic jihadists are aiming to accomplish, which really is a caliphate, not only within that area, but a worldwide caliphate, where everyone is under Islamic control, which means under Sharia law.
What is your feedback from the Christian community, from the audience, your target audience, and whatever audience, secondary audience that maybe you weren't targeting, but it got distributed to? What's the feedback? I know in certain psychological studies, they find that if somebody's entrenched in a viewpoint, if you present that person with just objective facts, they still may not pivot from that established viewpoint. And that's the issue that has to be overcome when presenting truth to even what might be the most well-meaning people in the audience. Are you finding that when people are exposed to the truth that you uncover, the firsthand accounts of what's going on there, that you're seeing people see the light, so to speak, or change their mind in their maybe demonization or vilifying Israel as a state? Are you getting any kind of feedback so far from your series and your film?
With those who are what we would just call highly indoctrinated, so they've completely just swallowed the jihadist narrative. Yeah. Those people aren't being influenced. Okay. They think everything that sympathizes with Israel in any way is just propaganda, right? They see it as completely just, to them, it's just nonsense, something to not be believed. So we're really, I wish I could say we're making headway with those people, but we're not. So it's really those who don't really know what to believe, and those who are still trying to make up their mind. And I think those are the people we really need to reach, because I think if you don't reach them first, the other story, the narrative, can be very, very persuasive. You take a few things, some video out of context of some Israelis, treating a Palestinian poorly. They see plenty of the videos of Palestinian civilians in Gaza who've been killed or hurt, in the war, and you see all of this bloodshed, and they blame Israel for it, and it's very easy then for them to demonize Israel. I think for a lot of people in the world, because so much of this is getting put out on social media, this is their first exposure to what war is actually like. They've never looked this closely into what war is like, and it's hellish, it's brutal, and they're like, well, just because of any human, right? We don't want to see that type of stuff happen to anyone, and so maybe Israel really is as bad as these people have been saying, and so they go down that path, and because of the algorithms on social media, once you click on a few of those videos, that they're just going to keep feeding that to you. So we need to get content out there that really tells the truth and helps people to think critically through what's going on. And so that's what we're trying to do. And with those people, we are definitely making headway. And so that's encouraging. We get a lot of very, very positive feedback. But we also get the anti-Israel trolls too, who like to make their comments, unfortunately, on our social media pages.
Well, it's very important for us, for Shelley and I, to make sure that all your content is brought to the attention of our network and our followers and our audience. We are constantly trying to provide them and implore people to go beyond the network news and beyond their TikToks and find that credible source of news and information. And your series and your film from 2021 are definitely assets in that information war. And so we are going to repost it and share this interview and share all the links and how people can access it. I think your film series is excellent for perhaps a Christian high school teacher to incorporate that, because believe it or not, I've seen firsthand these issues in even Christian high schools that the high school itself may be pro-Israel in its biblical foundation, but then still those narratives get into teachers or students discuss, and they don't have any of the facts at hand, and tears are shed, and people are upset, and teachers don't have any ammunition or facts. I think your docuseries actually is an excellent one to present. I mean, maybe with some, because of the footage, maybe some permission slips from
Yeah, especially with episode 3.
yeah, but and colleges as well. We noticed this war on evangelical support of Israel is waged even at the university level, and I just think that these are great resources for those teachers and leaders to.
Yeah, I would say even for college kids and that audience. Like this film, I remember when I saw Hope in the Holy Land in 2021, it's not like your grandmother's Christian Zionist documentary. I mean, you're not presuming that your audience has seen the miracle of 1948 and 67 and is coming in wanting to know about the marvel of Israel. Like, it is a film that really struggles with how can we reconcile having a Jewish nation, and with all of the things that you've heard about this place, is it truth? And you really struggle with those questions, which I think in the beginning, when Hope in the Holy Land was first released, it was like, is it okay to ask these questions? Which it certainly is, but I just know sometimes the Christian Zionist world can be a little afraid of even asking the questions because we want to get to the right answers. But in a documentary, you can't guarantee that you get to the right answers. You just have to trust the process and what you're investigating. And so after October 7th, you got all of your pro-Israel Christian Zionist bona fides by also how you're presenting the conflict and telling that story and telling that truth, and also the opposite story of hate in the docuseries. So I just want to say, as someone in the Christian Zionist world, like, I endorse all of these films. Amy and I endorse all of these films as something that reflects our own narrative, of our pro-Israel narrative, and why Israel should be in the land biblically, politically, morally, and ethically, and why they need to have their story told. So I do think, though, that there is something about the film, and maybe it's just a more academic approach, maybe it's more of a struggling question approach, but that it is something that's easier to share with a younger audience as well.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to put out some of the tough questions that I think a lot of people are asking, and I think really one of those questions is, can you support Israel without being anti-Palestinian? Can you actually have compassion for both people? And the answer to that question is absolutely yes, you can. I think that not to give away the conclusion to the film, but I'm going to give away the conclusion, which is what's hurting the people of Israel, which is Islamic Jihad, right? That's Israel's enemy. It's actually also the enemy to the Palestinian people. That ideology doesn't just hurt Israel; it hurts the Palestinians, and so that's what we're really fighting against. Kind of this idea of, we're not fighting flesh and blood, but the rulers and the principalities of this world. It's a spiritual battle. It's an ideological battle, and in many ways, it's a theological one. So that's what we present, and I do think it's so important. If there's parents, grandparents who are listening, watching right now, get your children educated, your grandchildren educated. There was a poll a year ago, December of 23, that was done and showed that 51% of respondents age 18 to 24, 51% affirmed that Israel should be ended and given to Hamas and the Palestinians. 51% essentially believe that Israel should not exist and it should be given to a terrorist organization. Of course, they don't understand. I'm sure these respondents didn't understand or believe that Hamas is a terrorist organization. They probably see them as some, resistance group, right?
Yeah.
but yet this is where 51% of our young people are at today. So if we don't educate them, I can guarantee you there will be somebody who hates Israel who will.
Well, that's what's already happening, especially in the colleges and even in a lot of the public schools. The reason why the respondents would make that response is because they're being taught that it's just these, poor, oppressed brown people, that it's all, white Jewish people's fault. It doesn't even address the diversity of the nation or anything. It's just...
that's way too simplistic of a narrative. It's much more complex
Exactly.
than that. So we need to help people see that.
Justin, Shelley and I are very excited about the work you do, and we're very, like she mentioned, we want to endorse it fully so that our network can view it, access it, view it, and share it as much as possible, because I really think it's a very valuable approach. Exactly what you said is you can be a Zionist, you can be pro-Israel and not anti-Palestinian or anti-Arab or any. The water raises all the boats, right? So that where there's safety and security and prosperity and equal rights and a sense of justice, so all the population members, the ethnicities therein can live prosperously and safely.
Yeah, I give a big amen to that. So, but yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure being with you, and I appreciate your support of our films and wanting people to see them and to just for what you're doing to continue to help people get educated. I think that's the fight that we're in. It's an information war that's being fought, and we need to present people with the truth.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Shavua Tov.
Shalom.